Thank you very much for inviting me to be with you. You have been listening some wonderful talks. So would you like to stand up for a couple of minutes and stretch? Thank you. So your arms up and arms around a little bit without hitting somebody. Yes, going a little bit backwards. Going a bit forward. A bit left. A bit lean right. Good. Are you feeling better? Yes. Good. Okay, please sit. Before I talk, I would like to have a short meditation. It's wonderful to see so many young people here. You know how young I am? I'm 79 years young. But when I was young like you, I was inspired by a very old man, much older or younger than me, and that was Bertrand Russell. He was 90 years old, and he went to jail for peace in the world. And when he was in jail, being arrested for peace, I was with a friend in Bangalore, and I said to my friend, "He is a man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young men, sitting here drinking coffee?" So that was the inspiration from the old person. So I hope that some of us who are present here, older, can be some inspiration to you, the younger. So let's sit for a few minutes in meditation. The word meditation and medicine come from the same root. So when you need to pay attention, so meditation is to pay attention. So when you pay attention to your body, you take some medicine, hopefully herbal or homeopathic. And when you want to pay attention to your soul, your spirit, your imagination, your inner landscape, then it's meditation. Bring your both palms together and we bow. To begin the meditation, you bow in the acknowledgement that we are all connected. We are all related. Then put your both hands on your knees and make a circle with the index finger and the thumb. As the index finger and the thumb are connected, we are connected to all beings upon this earth. We are connected to the universe. And as the thumb and the index finger make a circle that represents the cycle of time and the cycle of life. So that's in Sanskrit we call mudra, which is a posture, a symbolic representation. And so it's a cycle of time and a cycle of life. And then this mandala, which we have formed with our index finger and the thumb, this is called mandala, which is this a cyclical symbol. And this mandala represents the earth, the sun, the moon, and all life. ourselves, all life. And then keep your 3 remaining fingers straight. So bring your 3 fingers straight, and each finger represent the present, the past, and the future simultaneously. And also in your meditation, you can think of these 3 fingers as representing truth, goodness, and beauty. Mind, body, and spirit. Science, spirit, and arts. Soil, soul, society. And then bring your attention to your breath. And imagine that through this breath, we are connecting with each other. All of us in this room are sharing in the same breath of life. And thus, we are all connected. We are all related. Then just expand your consciousness and go beyond this room and imagine that the whole of humanity is sustained by the same breath of life. And thus, we are all connected. We are all related beyond our differences of nationality, of religion, of race, of color, of politics, of philosophy. Beyond all that, we share the breath as human beings. And then go beyond that and expand your consciousness and think that not only humans, but all living beings, the trees, the mountains, the rivers, the animals, the birds, the insects, all life is sustained by the same breath which we share with every living being. And thus, we are all connected. We are all related. With that sense of unity of all life, we breathe deeply, mindfully, being aware of each step of our breath. And then we will end this meditation with a mantra. And the mantra is Om. And so let's all sing together the mantra Om. When I start, you join me. Take breath in. Thank you. Relax. you are young people, and either you are studying at a university, or you have just left and looking for a job, or you are in a job, just starting, even if you don't love it. You are in a job because you think that this is what society expects you to do. I say a few things, but one thing I say is go, but don't look for a job. So they say, what? How are we going to live? How are we going to survive? So I say, create your own job. And actually, rather than create a job, create your own livelihood. Don't look for employment. Look for right livelihood. There's a great deal of difference between livelihood and employment. In livelihood, you are in charge of your work. In livelihood, you are the CEO of your own work and life. When you are in employment, there's a boss, there's a company. There are rules, and you have to follow. You have very little chance to use your imagination, your own creativity, your own initiative. You have to follow the rules of the business or the company. You are a spiritual being. You are not just body. You are also a spirit. And as a spiritual being, you have imagination. When are you going to use that imagination if 9 to 5 you have become enslaved by your job? It's a kind of glamorous slavery that we get into when we have employment and jobs. So be your own employer. Be your own boss. And find some ecological, social, spiritual entrepreneurship. Start a little shop where you sell organic food, beautiful books, beautiful magazines, because I have a vested interest. I publish a magazine called Resurgence and Ecologist. We want people to sell those magazines. We want you to find good food, good clothes, handmade, good crafts, organic, local. So start an organization. Start a campaign. Do something which comes from your own imagination, your own heart, your own creativity. You are young. This is the time to take challenge in your life. You are young. This is the time to take risk in your life. If you are fearful of how am I going to find my bread, how am I going to find my rent, how am I going to pay my iPhone or iPad, are you reducing this wonderful youth and wonderful human life just to pay the rent and the bill and to buy your iPad? You are here for something much greater, much more beautiful, much more luminous, as you said. What is that? Find your own work. Be your own boss. That is something I would like you to consider. What am I going to do? As you heard, you have to do what you love doing. Be an artist. Be a poet. Be a gardener. Be a cook. No job is less important. No work is less important. A gardener can be an artist. A cook can be an artist. Be a waiter, but be a waiter which you love doing. Service, hospitality, in the service of your fellow human beings, in the service of the earth. Be a poet. The word poet means to be maker. Poiesis, the Latin root for the word poet, is to be a maker. So poetry is not only to put beautiful words on a page. Of course, that is poetry too, because that comes from your imagination. But anything you do with your imagination, with your creativity, with your spirituality, anything is a poetry. A beautiful garden is a work of art. An artist is not a special kind of person, but every person, every one of you is a special kind of artist. I was in Australia, went to visit an Aboriginal village, and I asked, what work you have here in this village? What do you do? How do you make your living? And you know what they said? Their answer? I was amazed. They said, we are all artists. Please take me to one English village where everybody will say, we are all artists. We are all artists if we want to be. So, artist is not a special kind of person, but every one of you, every person is a special kind of artist, a poet, as long as we work with our imagination, with our creativity, with our own initiative, and take celebration, joy, pleasure, delight in our work. Money is fine, but more than money, you need pleasure. You need delight. You need bliss. You need joy in your work. When you paint a painting, you say, wow, wow. All those ordinary paint and brush and canvas, nobody valued anything like maybe you can buy for 10 pounds or 20 pounds. And then you paint this beautiful sunflower and you become Van Gogh. Suddenly. And those, Van Gogh maybe, we lived in rather poor state, but now people are paying $40 million. Ordinary transformed into extraordinary. That's your challenge. You have to transform ordinary into extraordinary. And ordinary can be transformed into extraordinary through your imagination, through your creativity, through your yoga, through your spirit, through your love. The moment you pour love into your work, it becomes art. And so, don't be an employee. Be an artist. Don't be an employee. Be a poet. And art is not only painting or music or dance. They are all arts. But the greatest art is the art of living. Art of living. Living with joy and pleasure. And doing everything where you say, how delighted I am. In English, there's a very beautiful expression. When somebody makes tea for me, and I'm staying with my dear friend Nicole, she's looking after me beautifully. She's making tea for me, she's making breakfast for me, she's providing lunch for me. And I say, Nicole, thank you. And you know what Nicole says? Don't thank, it was my pleasure. She's taking pleasure in making all this work, making tea, making breakfast, making lunch, bringing me here, driving me, taking pleasure. That's a wonderful expression in English language. When somebody thanks you, you say, it's my pleasure. I make tea for you, it's my pleasure. I cook for you, it's my pleasure. There was a great poet in India called Tulsi Das. And he wrote a wonderful epic of India, one of the most famous epic of India, called Ramayana. There are two great epics in India, Ramayana and Mahabharata. And Mahabharata is very famous because you are maybe too young to have seen it, but I went to see it. Peter Brook, one of the great directors of Britain, living in Paris, produced Mahabharata, a 9-hour play in Glasgow. And I went all the way from Devon to Glasgow to see it. And then there's another epic called Ramayana. It's a story of Rama. And it's a big, big book, more than 200,000 verses. And this person who wrote it was in 15th century. And somebody said to him, Tulsi, you have done so much work day and night for months and months and months, or years and years, and you wrote your book, took 30 years, you said. The same question was asked to Tulsi Das. Why did you do all this hard work? Such arduous task of, and in those days there was no publishing. It was just handwritten, and people were reading and copying and so on. And you know what his answer was? Swantas sukhaya tulasi raghunatha gatha. I wrote this great epic of Ramayana for my own pleasure. So, that is the most fundamental path of yoga. Fundamental path of the spirit. Ananda, we call it, you call it my pleasure. In Sanskrit, we call it Ananda. And you know, in India, when you take spiritual life, your name is changed. And they call you something like Shivananda, who was a great yoga master, Shivananda, or Yogananda, or Atmananda, Muktananda, Dayananda, Vivekananda, all these names. And all these names end with the word Ananda. Pleasure, joy, delight. Those are the words for Ananda. So, you do yoga every morning, yoga every evening, yoga every weekend, yoga day after day, but you are miserable. What's good of doing yoga? Don't do yoga. If you are miserable, don't do yoga. So yoga becomes like an obsession. Yoga becomes like a job. I'm doing yoga to keep fit, but I don't like it. It's too hard work. Don't do it. Yogananda. Yoga must be accompanied with joy, with pleasure, with delight, with ananda. All the names. Even Muktananda. Mukta means freedom. You are seeking freedom, 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 but you are miserable. What's the point of freedom? I don't want that freedom which is miserable. I want freedom which brings me joy, pleasure, delight. My body is given to me, which is like a blotting paper for joy. Somebody hugs me, wow, body feels good. Somebody kisses me, my beloved, what a joy it is. Somebody gives me beautiful, delicious food to my tongue. Joy. Tongue absorbs like a blotting paper. Taste. Whatever you do, you see beautiful flowers, you take joy. You hear beautiful music, take joy. The whole body is made 100%, completely, just to take joy and a pleasure. And we have turned our life into misery. And so, real yoga, real meditation, real spirituality is a path to Ananda, joy. So love, why we love? You fall in love with your beloved young woman, a beloved young man, for love. What brings you love? Joy. Your heart is full of pleasure. You enjoy the company of your beloved. And the poets take beloved, even God becomes beloved. Rumi, the poetry of Rumi is full of love songs. Meera, the Indian great woman singer and the poet, she's fallen in love with Krishna. There's no Krishna around, but she's in love. That joy, that pleasure is the essence of love. When you make something with heart and love and take pleasure in it, make a beautiful pot, a potter, a Bernard Leach, a Hamada, any wonderful potter, any wonderful chair maker, any wonderful gardener, that is, you take joy in it. So that beloved is to take pleasure. Find delight. I'm delighted to see you. My eyes are so touched to see you. I'm speaking to you now. What's the purpose of my speaking? No purpose. I'm not here to convert you to anything. I'm just enjoying it. Can you see that I'm enjoying it? This is it. This is life. Do everything. Find a work which you can enjoy. Ananda. Just remember the word Ananda. Joy, pleasure, delight. That is the whole purpose of your life. To find a way to Ananda, to joy. Join the movement to save the planet. For what? Not to save the planet, but enjoy saving the planet. Lots of our environmentalists become very active, and within 5 years they have burned out. They are exhausted. They are tired. I said, before you save the planet, save yourself. If you can't save yourself, you can't save the planet. And saving yourself is to enjoy campaigning. When Mahatma Gandhi was fighting for the freedom of India, he broke the rules of British government, British Empire, make salt, which was against the rule, did many things, and he was arrested. He was brought to the court, and he's standing on this dock in the court in front of this judge. And the judge said, Mr. Gandhi, why did you do that? You are such a learned lawyer yourself. Don't you know that you are breaking the law? Now I have to send you to jail. And Mahatma Gandhi said, my lord, please send me to jail. I will go to prison as a bride goes to wedding chamber. Joy. Going to prison, joy. Nelson Mandela, time after time was asked, please give up this, your demands for this nonsense called end of apartheid. We'll free you. Whole world is asking us to free you. We'll free you, but don't do all this nonsense of end of apartheid. No. 27 years in prison. Read his book. Read his book. 27 years in jail, full of joy. No, even the suffering, he was able to take joy and pleasure in it. I had a great fortune of meeting Martin Luther King. Again, like Mahatma Gandhi, who I did not meet, but I met a kind of Mahatma Gandhi of America, Martin Luther King. After my 8,000-mile walk from India to America without any money in my pocket. And when I wrote to him, when I heard him speak, I had a dream speech, the famous speech. And you know how that dream speech came about? It's an amazing story. He had a written speech and he started to read, and it was very boring. And there were something like 500,000 people in front of him. This is one of the biggest demonstrations of the civil rights movement in the history. And there was a singer woman standing next to him, friend of Martin Luther King, very famous singer. And she said, Martin, Martin, in his ears, Martin, stop this speech. Tell them about your dream. Because she knew that Martin Luther King had a dream, and he has talked about that dream. And so Martin Luther King heard her, listened to her, and stopped. In the middle of the speech, can you imagine, the middle of the speech, not only the speech was dropping from his lap, he dropped it and did not pick it up. And he said, "And yes, I have a dream." And that electrified the audience. And I was at that time in my walk in Paris, August 1964, or 63, 64. And so I came to New York and I wrote a letter to Martin Luther King. I said, "Dr. King, you have a very big dream, but I have a small dream. And my dream is to meet you. I'm so inspired by your work." And he said, yes, you come from the land of Mahatma Gandhi. You have walked from India for peace. What a lovely story to learn. Please come, I will see you. And he gave me 1 hour, and his wife Coretta King, and Dr. King himself. And he did his work, his campaigning for the civil rights movement with pleasure, with joy. He was happy to be in jail. He wrote a letter from Birmingham jail with joy and pleasure, oozing with pleasure. Now, if you want to be an activist, I don't want you to be an activist and have a burnout. I don't want to be an activist to save the world and lose yourself. Because you are the world. You are, my friend Nicole tells me, that we are all microcosm of macrocosm. The whole universe is inside you. The whole world is inside you. There's nothing out there which is not in you. You are the earth. You are trying to save the earth. You are the earth. You are made of the earth. You come from the earth. Every cell of our body is earth. We are air. You are water. You are fire. There's a fire in your belly. Your warmth of your body is your fire. You have imagination. You have consciousness. Pure consciousness is inside, in you. You are made of pure consciousness. You realize who you are. You are a divine being. You are a universe. Realize who you are. You are not just this small person called John or Satish or Patrick or Peter or Nick. You are more than that. Names are just names. You are a spiritual being. You are a universal being. Expand your mind and you will find the mind of God. You will find Stephen Hawking wrote his book, The Brief History of Time. And in the last paragraph he said, "And one day our science will continue to research and find the mind of God." And I want to say to Stephen Hawking, I say, you can find the mind of God here and now, this moment. Just expand your consciousness and embrace the universe. And you find the mind. God is not somewhere behind the clouds in the sky. God is not outside you. You are the divine being. You are the spiritual being. Just realize who you are and expand your consciousness. That pure consciousness is the mind of God. This is what we have to be involved in when we are trying to save the planet, when we are trying to be activists. We have to take that part in a very great, grand scheme, not a small something, but something grand. We are looking for a new world view. We are looking for a new paradigm. We are looking for a paradigm where we are one with our earth, not separate. The old story is a story of separation. Man, nature, or humans and nature, separate. Americans, Russians, separate. Christians, Muslims, separate. Blacks, whites, separate. Division, division, division. Diversity is not division. Diversity is to be celebrated. And within diversity, you have a unity. We are all human beings. We are part of one human community. We are one human tribe. And that unity in diversity, we can have any language, any culture, any nationality, any religion, any philosophy, doesn't matter. I went around the world. If I went as an Indian, I meet a Pakistani. I meet a Russian. I meet an American. If I went as a Hindu, I'll meet a Muslim, or a Buddhist, or a Christian, or a Jew. But if I went as a human being, I meet human beings everywhere. So all our labels of I'm a Hindu, I'm an Indian, I'm a black, I'm a white, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm Buddhist, I'm yogi, I'm not yogi, I'm this, I'm that, these are fine as long as they are kind of expression of diversity. But beyond that diversity, there's a unity of life. And we are all connected like the thumb is connected with the index finger. This is why we meditate with this mudra, this mandala. We are connected. We are all one. And with that sense of unity of life, if we work, then take any risk. Risk, if in your young age, if you don't take a risk, when will you take it? Don't be afraid of any difficulties. Difficulties and problems will make you strong and resilient. A tree can become strong and resilient only when it goes through years and years of storm and snow and winter and rain. It never says that I want a little cozy room somewhere in the greenhouse. And if you keep a tree in the greenhouse, it will never be so strong. So going out in the world, taking difficulties, going through difficulties is a good thing. Never be afraid of difficulties. Never be afraid of problems. Problems are a great opportunity to rise to challenge. And use your imagination to solve the problem. When no problem, you have no opportunity to use your imagination to solve the problems. What are you going to do with your wonderful imagination? You are not using it. It's like a treasure, like a money in the bank, and you never use it. Your imagination is your treasure. Your bank account, your money in the bank. Use it to solve the problems. So when you want to purchase something, you use your checkbook, use your Visa card. So in the same way, when you want to do something in your life, you use your imagination. That's your Visa card. That's your credit card. That's your checkbook. That's your 50-pound note. How many of you have 50-pound note? I don't. So, my sort of impromptu and my spontaneous conversation with you is that don't look for a job. Don't look for employment. Create your own job. Cultivate your courage and drop the fear. If you are fearful, you are not young. That's the job of the old. I'm not old because I have no fear. So I'm ever young. You can be ever young. A friend asked me this morning, What do you take in the morning to be so energetic and so young at age 79? Drop the fear. The tonic is this courage, this fearlessness. That will keep you young forever. So if you want to be a young, and you are young, have that courage, have no fear, and world will be yours. Thank you very much. Thank you, 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 thank you.